Here we have a case study question based on arithmetic progression. In such questions you will be aware that there are lot of subsections and there is lot of information given. So I am going to write down only the information that is relevant for that section, for the section that we are dealing with. So our first question here is to find the number of steps in a ladder. And what is the information given? The distance between the top and the bottom steps of the ladder is 2.5 meters, or in other words it is 250 centimeters, and the gap between any two steps or any two rungs, the gap is 25 centimeters. What you have to find is how many such steps are there, but instead we will find out how many such divisions are there. Now the total length between the top and the bottom steps is what? 250 centimeters. How many 25 can you find in 250? That is the number of divisions. So in 250, how many 25 can you find? You can find 10 such divisions, right? So the number of divisions is 10, but that is not our question. The question is how many steps are there. In 2 steps you will see 1 division. In 3 steps you will see 2 divisions, or in other words, to the number of divisions add 1, then you will get the number of steps, or in other words the number of steps is 11. So we move on to our next question. As I said, I have only written down the relevant information. What is the second question? Suppose the length of all of these rungs form an AP with the first term as 45 and the last term is 25, but then we know how many terms are there. We know n, right? N is 11. That's what we found out in the first question. And the last term, or in other words the 11th term, is 25 centimeter. Now what we need to find is the length of the wood needed to make all of these steps, or in other words what we are looking for is the sum of the terms. Each length is a term. Now what we are looking for is all of them added. How much is it? Now what is the formula that you will use? You have the first term and the last term, right? So you can use this formula. So it is n is 11. We know there are 11 steps. The first step is 45. The last step is 25. So that would be 70. 70 by 2 is 35. 35 into 11 is 385 centimeters. Please remember it is in centimeters. So the length of the wood needed to make all of these rungs together is 385 centimeters, or if you want it in meters, it is 3.85 meters. So we move on to our third question. In the last question we saw how much wood is needed to make just the steps. To make just the steps you need 3.85 meters of wood, but just the step is not enough, right? You need the main body. So how much wood is needed to make the whole of the ladder, the steps and the body together? How much wood is needed? What we need is a 3-meter ladder, but remember it is not just 3, we need it on both sides. A 3 meter here, a 3 meter here. Together just the body needs 6 meters, but then that is just the body. Add the steps to it. How much is it? It is 3.85 meters, which means totally we need 9.85 meters of wood to build the whole ladder together with the steps and with the main body. Now we are on to our fourth question. We need to find the length of the middle rung. But what do we know? All of these steps, they form a AP. And what all information do we know about it? We know that the first term is 45 centimeters, and we know that there are 11 terms, and we know that the 11th term is 25 centimeters. Also, we know that the sum of all of this is what? It is 385 centimeters. Now the question is, what is the middle term? When you are given n terms, and if this n is odd, then n plus 1 by 2th term will be the middle term. You will have only one middle term. But if your n is even, you will have two middle terms, n by 2 and n by 2 plus 1. You will have two middle terms. But here what do you have? Your n is what? It is odd. It is 11. So what will be the middle term? The middle term will be 12 by 2, sixth term. So what we want is the sixth term. What is A6? That is what we have to find out. But then do you notice that one very important thing is missing? What is the two things that that determine an AP? First is the first term, and next is what? The common difference. That we have not found out. We still don't know what D is. So let us first find out what D is. Now this is the length of your sixth step. Let's go on to our final question. So there we come to our last and final question. Here the cost of wood is given, and what is it? For 1 meter it costs rupees 100. Now our question is, what is the cost of making this ladder? The whole ladder, the steps and both the sides, everything together. Do you remember how much wood was needed? I think it was the third question. We found out that we needed 9.85 meters. Now here we keep alternating between meters and centimeters, so please keep an eye on it. Whenever we are talking about wood, we are dealing with meters. That will be easy. But when we are dealing with the steps, we are taking centimeters. So don't get confused between the two. If possible, if you are finding it confusing, stick to any one. Centimeter or meter, stick to any one. So we found out to make the total ladder, we needed this much wood. So how much does it cost? How many rupees does it cost? Just cross multiply, then the cost is equal to what? 985 rupees to make the whole ladder. So this was the final question. That is all for today. Till we meet again, you take care. Assalamu alaikum.